The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Christina Pagan, on this frigid Monday morning in January. I'm filling in for Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our community and the world. First up, we'll hear from a doctor working to make improvements and to healthcare in the Bronx and around the world. After that, 22 New York schools will be closing, and we'll find out the reasons for this and what to do if these closures affect you or your family members. Next, months after Hurricane Sandy, many families are still left with nothing, and representatives from FEMA will join us to share how to apply for help. Plus, in a world riveted by hate and violence, we'll hear from an organization working to fight oppression and shed light on truth. Finally, we'll sit down with an organization working to create a safer environment for LGBT youth. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we are now officially open. Hello, Bronxites. I'm your host, Christina Pagan. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2013. Of course, you're watching Open, the only live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to hear from you, so tweet us throughout the show at BronxNetTV. Our first guest joined us here on set 3 weeks ago to discuss her recent appointment to the Westchester County Laboratory and Research Board of Managers. And since she has been appointed, she's demonstrated changes in system processing that will improve access to care for many patients. Here today to follow up on her research is Dr. Rubina Heptula. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this research started and what changes are being made?
I moved to the Bronx in April 2010, and prior to my arrival, I noticed that patients were waiting for a long time for an appointment, sometimes 3 or 4 months to get in to see a doctor, and I wanted to change that. And I wanted to reduce the new patient appointment time to 2 weeks or less. And that was my goal. So I studied the system, I studied how we make appointments, and we made the changes that were needed to be made to make it happen.
And what kind of changes did you make? What's the difference from then to now?
What we did was we had a lot of employees, but they were not being used effectively, and a lot of new patient appointments were not being slotted in. So if there was an opening and a patient needed to be seen that was a follow-up appointment was being slotted in, so we protected those new patient appointments so they could get in, even if it was 2 weeks, 1 week, the next day. If we needed to see them, we made it happen.
How long did this research go on? How long did you study?
We actually studied it for a few months prior to instituting it, and then once you institute a change, then you follow it and see if it works.
Where did you conduct your study?
We did it in our own center. I'm in diabetes and endocrinology, in pediatric diabetes and endocrinology at the Children's Hospital of Montefiore, and that's where we conducted the research.
And have you seen a significant improvement in the patient care?
Yes, we have. We have seen better patient satisfaction, patients getting diagnosed earlier, and we've seen an influx of patients from a lot of different practices that weren't sending us patients prior to this improvement.
And how do you see this going forward in the future, implemented in other institutions maybe?
I would really first like it to even be across other subspecialties in pediatrics at Montefiore, and then perhaps for the larger Montefiore hospital, because it's not just us that was suffering from this access issue to physicians. Once we can show we can do it even in our own hospital in other areas, perhaps this is also applicable to other places, other inner city hospitals, which are constantly struggling to get patients in and to be seen in a timely fashion.
Were there any challenges when you made the change from before to now?
The challenges are always from within. You have to fight your own system to make it happen, to see how you can find the rooms to see patients, or how you could work with the call center to make it happen so they are more courteous to patients when they call in. So, the struggle is always within. Once you can make your own people see that you can make this happen, then the patients get the benefit.
The benefit, indeed they do. What made you interested in this study and making the change?
Wouldn't you want to be seen in a timely fashion if you called your doctor?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So was that your initial, was that the purpose of you coming in 2010, or was that just something that happened while you were here at Montefiore?
I think it is something that is close to my heart. I always think of myself as a patient. I'm a doctor, but I am a patient too at some point. And when I call a physician, I am at the other end, and I always think as how the patient would feel and how we should respond to their needs. And I think if you put yourself in that position, you're more likely to be able to make the difference from the patient's standpoint. And so we're always trying to see what are the things that the patients don't like when they come in. Is there a long waiting time to see the doctor? They have all of these preliminary things that must be done, and how we could expedite those things so you could get in and out from the physician's office in a more expeditious manner. How could we line up things better? So it's always a process. Improvement is not I achieved it and it's over now. It's a continuous process improvement, and we're always working on things and always trying to improve ourselves.
Could you tell us a little bit more in depth about what the changes were that you made? I know that you kind of glazed over about using the employees in a better fashion. Can you tell us more in detail about that?
So a physician's practice is always made up of many levels of people. So we have physicians, we have nurse practitioners, we have physician's assistants, we have nurses, we have dietitians. And how do you work all of these people in a coordinated fashion so we are not duplicating our work? So when a patient comes in, they're not seeing 5 people at one visit and then nobody at another visit. So it is a matter of making it so that over the period of a year, because we see a lot of patients with diabetes who we see chronically, so over a period of year they do visit with a dietitian, they do visit with a social worker, they do see a doctor, they do see a nurse practitioner, so they get a comprehensive evaluation and treatment plan. So making appointments so that we can cover all these bases, you have to have multidisciplinary meetings, and that's how you can penetrate and make a difference.
When did you make this change over?
We made it in fall of 2010.
Okay.
We studied it for a while, and then we were able to achieve it within 3 months.
Wow. That's very quick.
Yes.
And what are more improvements that you'd like to see happen? Is there still, what's the reaction been of it?
The reaction has been very positive. So it's like I said, it's a continuous process improvement. So we do well for a while, and then we hit, say, Thanksgiving, or we hit Sandy, and then the patients can't come in. And we have appointments, and some of us even make it to the hospital, but patients can't come in. But then those patients have to be accommodated at another time. And so there's always going to be challenges. Something is going to be thrown at us, hurricanes and storms and school closures or snowstorms, and so each thing is a challenge, and how do you meet that challenge in the hospital or any other business? This will come up, and we're always trying to think of ways how we can accommodate those patients, have new sessions, use our nurse practitioners to perhaps see patients that are not that acute, that don't need a doctor, but they do need the care. So try to see which patients are more easier to manage. Some patients are more complex and they need more.
How does this differ from like an emergency room situation?
So if we see our patients in a timely fashion as a subspecialist or any other primary care person has this open access model, which we call nice for your open show, then if I am seeing them, they don't need to go to the emergency room. So then we decrease the load on the emergency room as well.
That's good. I've sat there in the emergency room with a friend of mine. It was hours.
It's hours, especially now with the flu epidemic.
Oh, yes, indeed. Can you tell us, how's your appointment? You came to see us 3 weeks ago. How is everything going with you with that?
So far, it's slow. It's not yet started.
Not yet started?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Well, I wish you good luck. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We have to take a quick break, but coming up, we'll hear about an effort being made to give more stability to our schools.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Did you find the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yep.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov. Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome home, man.
Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911 Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
There is also a very attractive extended warranty option that includes free service and parts for the next 5 years. But there's no need for you to get that. You failed to get the test you needed at the doctor that would have detected disease early enough where it could have been treated. So you won't be around in 2 years to see him grow up, which means the warranty would be useless. Okay, sign here, please.
For a list of tests every man should have, go to ahrq.gov.
Hello, welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. After months of school evaluations, a decision has been made to close a number of at-risk Catholic schools. The Archdiocese of New York believes this will lead to financially healthy and sustainable schools throughout the New York City. Joining us on the phone to share more information about this decision is Superintendent Dr. Timothy McNiff. Welcome.
Christina, good morning to you.
Good morning. Can you tell us about the decision to close these 22 schools in the New York City area?
I would be happy to. Thank you for the opportunity. Christina, what's most frustrating about this exercise that we're doing right now is the schools that are closing are not failing schools. Certainly not when you look at test scores and graduation rates and safe harbor for children. They were doing wonderful work. It is the resources that we have available to sustain this number of schools is not become sustainable for us. So today, after a 3-year study where we had all major stakeholders involved, we've come to the conclusion that we can educate all of the children that are in the system today, and even more, but we can do it in fewer buildings. And if we can reduce the number of buildings, but not students, we've helped try to keep Catholic education sustainable in all of our neighborhoods. And so this is an exercise to try to do that.
What would you say to people who would talk about overcrowding in the new schools, that these students have to go somewhere else? What would you say about that?
And we've done those studies, Christina, and if we transition the students that are being displaced, and there's 4,800 children, which is 9% of our population, and we have room in neighboring Catholic schools, if we do that, there's enough empty seats to accommodate them, and it does not increase class size beyond the traditional 25, 26 kids in a classroom.
What happens to the old buildings that are being shut down?
That's one of the ways we're going to keep our schools financially sustainable, because when the schools do close down, we will be renting those buildings, and there is a market for that, and a percentage of that rental income will go back to the schools that will be operational next September to help keep their costs down. And may I just say, here's the big challenge. The cost to educate a child at the elementary school in Catholic schools is roughly about $6,800. We artificially set our tuition much lower than that. The average is around $3,500. It's our way of trying to keep the schools affordable for everybody. And what's important to know, in our city schools, 65% of our children live at or below the poverty line. We need to protect and preserve that statistic. But the delta between $3,500 that's charged and the true cost of $68 is what we try to fundraise with and what we ask the Archdiocese and the Church to give us. That delta is getting larger, and it's not becoming sustainable for us. And that's why we're looking for other options to keep the schools viable financially.
What's been the reaction that you've received from parents and even the children about the school closings?
You know, can I answer it in a threefold way?
Of course.
The first thing I think I should say is to say I am sorry that we are displacing children from schools that they truly love. This is heartbreaking for all of us. And when you see the disappointment in these families, you know how good those schools were. So to express our sympathies and our sorrow for that, I think, is first and foremost. The second thing is to thank them for the commitment that they continue to make to put their children in a Catholic school. For us to be able to partner with them is truly an honor. But the third thing I'd like to say is that they should take heart, because if and when they transition next September to the neighboring Catholic school, And these words come from testimonials we have received from families in the past who have gone through this experience. And they say, we left a great Catholic school, but we landed in the same great Catholic school. It just had a different name to it.
Is there anything that these families can do to maybe change your mind or anything? Because I know that my cousin actually went to St. Peter's in Haverstraw, which is one of the schools on your list, and she tried to start a grassroots campaign for fundraising. I actually helped her make a video for it, and she was doing pretty well, but obviously not enough. Is there anything that they can do?
A couple of thoughts on that, Christina. So we did this study 3 years ago, and we knew all of the schools that were at risk. We had to close some schools at that point in time. But for all the other schools that did not close but were labeled at risk, we tried to work with those school communities to see how we can make them financially sustainable. We went 2.5 years and realized we were not making much progress. So it wasn't something that just came up immediately. But we felt we needed to notify the parents back in the fall that this is going to be inevitable. Some school communities, to their credit, tried to raise money. St. Peter's was one of them. They did a wonderful job on that. But I think you can appreciate my next comment. What we did not want to do is have a school fundraise and come up with enough money maybe to make them sustainable for 1 year, and then we're back in the same situation and then have to close them. I don't think that creates integrity with donors if we did that for just 1 year. So we set a benchmark that said you have to at least come up with resources for 3 years so that people would feel good about their donation. That became a barrier for a lot of the schools to be able to stay open.
I can understand that. That's a lot of money, I would assume.
Well, it is, and I just need to plug this in if you'd be kind enough to give me this opportunity. You know what else is a lot of money? And this is where we need to go look at Albany and the state of New York. Today, the state owes the Catholic school system in the Archdiocese over $30 million from reimbursement for services that we're mandated to do, and we do. And over the last 5-6 years, we have not been able to get those reimbursements. If that were to come to fruition, Christina, we wouldn't be having a conversation like this today. We also have legislation that we're asking to be passed up in Albany today. That's a tax credit that allows individuals and corporations to divert some of their tax liability to go and support education in private and Catholic schools for disadvantaged children. If that gets passed, we clearly are not having these conversations going forward.
What can we do about talking to the state to get that money reimbursed to the Archdiocese?
We're doing everything that we can on our end. I think for families who and citizens who understand the value of Catholic education as a component to communities, I think for them to write and call their representatives and say, this needs to happen, this reimbursement has to happen, and that tax credit legislation needs to pass. Now, here's the good news, if there is something in today's in light of today's news. When we go into September, because we have a smaller system building-wise, we have asked so many more community people to join our local boards to help us operate these schools, and we have created new funding just for scholarships for families that need it, that we're going to be able to hold the line, and we're not going to have conversations of closures of this magnitude going into the future. I am absolutely committed and confident of that statement.
Thank you, Dr. McNiff, for joining us today.
I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me, so thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
For more information on the school closures, you can visit www.adnyeducation.org. We have to take a quick break, but coming up, we'll hear about an effort to end depression.
Low-fat cheese sandwiches on whole wheat bread. chewy, and good for you. Snacks high in calcium help build strong bones, and foods rich in fiber are good for your heart. So you have the power to dominate. Can your food do that? Run, throw, think, eat better. Find out more at smallstep.gov.
Hi, I'm Sean Johnson of the 2008 U.S. Gymnastics team. I'm here with our friends from Veggie Tales to say, be a player, get up and play an hour a day.
Besides gymnastics, how do you stay in great shape, Sean?
I love to dance and rollerblade.
Cool.
You don't have to be an Olympian to be a player. Just do the things you already love to do, like jump rope, ride a bike, or even play freeze tag.
Now that's something to flip for.
Well done! For fun ways to get healthy, visit www.smallstep.gov.
Hey, how's it going?
Sir, are you okay?
What? Oh, this? It's probably nothing. I'm sure it'll go away.
Go away? But sir, that can't be good.
No, it's cool, really.
Do you want a napkin or something?
Everything's fine. Thanks.
You wouldn't ignore this. So why ignore the signs of a stroke? At the first warning signs, call 911 immediately. Because time lost is brain lost.
These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Hello viewers, I'm your host Cristina Pagan. And remember, this is a live and interactive show, so join in on the conversation by tweeting us at BronxNetTV. Since its start in 2006, the Prockin Foundation has worked to support individuals and organizations working to fight for truth, democracy, and against oppression. Here to share more about the organization and their upcoming award ceremonies is Ana Vladi. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, could you tell us more about the Prockin Foundation?
Sure. We basically try to award and recognize individuals that help us not forget history, in other words. So we concentrate on such historic events as Holocaust and Stalinist repression, and we're an educational foundation, in other words. So it's literary works. This year we actually finished quite a big project. We worked with Department of Education of State of New Jersey, Holocaust Commission, and we finished the curriculum. It's a history curriculum, Stalin and his repressive regime. So this year it's being taught in high schools across state of New Jersey.
And what's the next step?
So the next step is we want to expand this particular function into other states. So New York is next.
Okay. What made you start this curriculum and building it up with New Jersey and moving to New York?
Unfortunately, kids these days and younger generations do not know of atrocities that happened. And it's not just Holocaust, and it's not just Stalin, it's in a lot of different countries. So what we try to do is we want to educate younger generations, and we want to, through education, to prevent hate crimes, in other words. That's really what it is.
That's what it is. You said you have an event coming up shortly. What is this event?
Yes, we have an event which is every year. It's an annual event. It's an award ceremony where we nominate different writers. And by nominating them, we basically say thank you for their contribution for our fight for democracy. So this event is this Sunday. It's at the Holocaust Museum in Battery Park. It's at 11 o'clock. It's free to attend. So we would like to have a RSVP. We had a lot of people who RSVP'd, but if you're just listening to this and would like to come, please do.
Is there any other kind of curriculums that you're looking to create in the future, or is this basically where we're stopping?
Well, I think we want to look at other areas that needs improvement, in other words. And I don't think it's a secret that United States education is behind other countries in a lot of different subjects. So I think as an educational foundation, we definitely should look at that. And I think this is something we're going to do this year. And obviously New York comes because it's, we're here, so we can do all this work. I think we will look at looking at maybe other areas as well, and not just concentrating specifically on history. But we definitely would like to tie it to our mission, educating younger generation. That's really what it's about.
Your foundation started in 2006. What was your first steps? What was your first? What were the first things that you did when you started?
So our president, Lyudmila Prakhin, and she's really the brains behind this whole operation. She's the one who's working day to day. She's contacting the authors. Now they're contacting her, but at the very beginning she had to contact them and basically bring their stories alive. And that's how we started, just collecting the books, reading the books, reviewing and nominating the authors, and having this event, which, it's going to be 6th one this year.
How do you decide what goes into a curriculum like this, and what do you leave out?
Well, we're working with a lot of professors, obviously, that's their area of expertise, and then we worked very closely with the actual Commission of the Holocaust, and they have professors on staff. So it was a joint effort, a team effort. It took, I believe, 5 years to finish this. So this year, a Commission of the Holocaust is coming to the event to get the award.
Wow.
So Prakhin Foundation and together with the Commission receiving the award.
Why do you focus on Stalin specifically?
I guess part of it is because that's where we came from, right? I mean, we're from Russia, so we believe that, some people don't even know about Stalin. They heard about Hitler, but they didn't know about Stalin, but he killed 6 million Jews. So that's something that, people should be aware of. And with hate crimes happening today, I think only through education you can prevent that. So I believe, that's kind of a start.
Right. What are some of the highlights of having implemented this curriculum so far? Have you heard anything back?
We haven't, because everything is so new. I would love to get feedback. I'm sure we're going to be reaching out to the superintendent of the schools and the teachers to get the feedback. I would love to hear that, but it's just started this year, so we don't have anything yet.
What was the response when you first implemented it, when you told the teachers that this was going to be part of their new curriculum?
The history teachers were all excited because they haven't had that before. It was just a missing link, in other words, so there was a lot of excitement. But the results, I guess would love to hear from students as well, probably, just to see their feedback, to get their feedback.
Have you done anything like this before anywhere else, or this is the first
No,
time?
This is our first effort, and I think it was a very big success. Like I said, it took a lot of work, and a lot of people were involved. But I think as once you do it once, you kind of have a blueprint, so we could probably use that going forward. And, as we go, make it better, make it faster probably also. So I'm actually talking to some of the educators within the state of New York to see how we can start the process within the state of New York.
Have you received any resistance to this kind of curriculum at all?
No, we haven't. I mean, New Jersey has a specific commission for that. So that's been wonderful. I'm still we're still working through to see how New York handles something like this. Okay. So we're still kind of in research mode.
I know that some people have issues with acknowledging the Holocaust and acknowledging things that have happened in the past. How would you approach them about this subject?
How can you not acknowledge? It's history. It's a fact. It happened. You can't change it.
Right.
So it's kind of, they have to know what happened. They don't have to like it, right? But they have to acknowledge that it happened, because you cannot change it. You cannot change history. What we can do is prevent for something like this happening in the future. And that's really what our mission is.
Right. Again, where is your event? Is in the Holocaust Museum?
Holocaust Museum in Battery Park. It's in New York City. January 27th, 11 o'clock.
Is there a website we can go to find information?
Yes, we're on Facebook. Okay. So it's very simple. Just Prakhin.org. Just type in Prakhin.org, and our page comes up. Please like us.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
For more information, you can visit Prakhin.org. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll learn how you can apply for federal grants from damage caused by Superstorm Sandy.
Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
Hi, I'm Sonia Richards of the 2008 U.S. Track and Field Team. I'm here with our friends from Jane and the Dragon to say,
the amount counts, so keep portions under control.
When you're on the go, there's nothing better than a healthy snack to give you a boost. But remember, portions count too.
I love fast food, fruit that is. It's the perfect size and great to eat on the fly.
You've got the idea. For fun ways to get healthy, visit www.smallstep.gov.
Every year, mothers lose their babies to gun crimes. You'll always be your mother's baby. So before you commit a gun crime, think about who you'll leave behind. Gun crimes hit home.
Gotta get that. Oh, I must be careful. Well, that's a nice picture.
Come on, Anna.
Okay.
Foreclosure doesn't affect just you. It affects your whole family, too. If you've fallen behind on your mortgage, we can help. Call 1-888-995-HOPE, because nothing is worse than doing nothing.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. In the wake of Hurricane Sandy, months later, many people around New York City are still left without homes and resources and do not know where to look for federal funding. Here to share more about if you qualify for funding and how to apply for it are Dasha Castillo and FEMA Public Information Officer Angel Klaas. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Hurricane Sandy was a big, major devastation here in New York City. We didn't expect any kind of damage like that. What's the aftermath months later that you're seeing so far?
Hurricane Sandy impacted mostly the coastlines. The water was, most of the damages that have been occurring is because of water, leaks, flooding. So a lot of people are not aware months after of mold and mildew. We call that the silent killer. It's due to the water infiltration. You'll find the mold behind the walls, under the carpets. A lot of people are getting sick, and it causes respiratory problems. It affects the nervous system, and people are, maybe going to the hospital, nosebleeds, not understanding what the problem is. And in fact, it was related and is related to Hurricane Sandy.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that was happening. What is something that they can do to help pay for some of these medical bills, or even just to get rid of the mildew in their houses?
Well, that's an excellent question. We're here to encourage people to register with FEMA. And right now, the deadline is approaching. We're on a countdown. January 28th on Monday is the deadline. And, you can go online at disasterassistance.gov, or you can register over the phone. It takes 15 to 20 minutes, and that's 800-621-3362. If you have suffered medical and you have even dental expenses because of the hurricane, we can cover that for you. Just keep track of all your receipts. But hurricane assistance comes in two forms. Basically, we have grants, which is FEMA giving free money that you do not have to pay back, and we also have disaster loans that's very low interest rates.
So, Angel, I assume that you're dealing with the disaster loans. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. Well, to make a little history, when there's a declaration, presidential declaration, the lead agency is FEMA. FEMA brings in a lot of agencies. One of those agencies is Small Business Administration. We're the agency that teams up with their individual assistants in order to help people with a little bit more money. For example, we have loans for structural damages up to $200,000, for personal property up to $40,000 with an interest rate at 1.68%. We also do help out businesses as well. Their interest rate will be at 4%, but we can lend them up to $2 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Yes. I know that there are probably a lot of people with homes and even businesses who never realized that something like this could happen to them, who would have thought that Lower Manhattan would be completely flooded and shut down for weeks. Do you have any anecdotes that you might be able to share with us if people have come to you searching for assistance?
That is correct. Now that we have two different types of assistance when it comes to businesses. Now that you mentioned Lower Manhattan, we have physical damages, but we also have economic injury. The economic injury is basically when somebody were doing business in Lower Manhattan, but they were stationed somewhere else, they were functioning somewhere else, so they don't have that income coming in because the place was shut down. Well, that's where the economic injury comes in. We can also lend up to $2 million at that 4%, starting at that 4%.
Wow. And you said the deadline is coming up on January 28th, this Monday. What's the deadline for specifically? What is that deadline?
People have until Monday, 12 midnight, to call and register for FEMA. We can provide rental assistance if you don't have where to live. We can provide you a place to stay, up to 18 months of rental assistance. And there's also grant money for home repairs. We help people get back on their feet, and we provide the necessary tools. For instance, if you have your items, your personal belongings in storage, or even if your personal belongings were affected, there's help for renters as well. So it's not only homeowners and businesses, but renters can also register. And if you live in a home that is not yours, the homeowner can register within the same address, and so can the renter.
Oh, okay, that's good. Again, what kind of response have you seen that people have given to FEMA based on their response to Hurricane Sandy?
Well, Christina, more than 265,000 people have already contacted FEMA throughout the durance of the disaster and have called to ask questions, to register for information. 13 counties are affected, and we have been working around the clock since day one. So again, we really encourage people. You can call 1-800-621-3362, or you can go to disasterassistance.gov. We have a neat tool as well. There's disaster recovery centers that you can visit and see FEMA and SBA face-to-face. And you can text. So you can text the number 43362 and just put in your zip code, and the text that you will get in response will give you the nearest center.
Great, that's good to know. Where can we get assistance from the small business?
Well, as Dasha was saying, you can visit the disaster recovery centers. We're there. You can go online at sba.gov. We have there. You can also do it online. In the disaster recovery centers, we do have people with computers to help you do it right away. There's a form they need to print out. It's an 8821 form. We will print that out, sign it. It's a very simple form, name, address, just sign it, and we'll send it out next day air. That way we can get things rushing. Now, we've had already so far $681,445,700 approved already on Hurricane Sandy just for New York itself. So we are assisting people as much as we can. The deadline of December 28th, for us, you need to have the application in by that day.
Okay.
So that's what we're here, trying to encourage people that do not feel left out. We need to get the information to be able to assist you.
Great, great. Where are you guys stationed? Are you guys from New York? Did this affect you at all? Or is this just something you come in and swoop in like superwomen and supermen?
Yes, we're superheroes, and we come here to help. So we've been stationed here since the very beginning.
What are some of the things that you've seen? Have you seen any improvements? Do you feel like you've done everything that you can?
I have a lot of admiration for New Yorkers. I feel that they are fighters, and I've never seen entities, including governmental entities, just get up on their feet. The MTA, the transit, they were just on it, day in, day out, just working around the clock. And I was very impressed by all the volunteers that have helped us, even in other languages. Mm-hmm. So we've been very blessed to be here and to work and see the progress from the ground up.
Speaking of other languages, everything is available in other languages on your site at these centers that they can go to. There's interpreters, I would assume?
Correct.
Okay, great. That's important. The Bronx is full of immigrant families, and we need to be able to accommodate everyone.
When you call the 800 number, option 2 is for Spanish.
Okay, option 2 is for Spanish. If anybody speaks any other languages, it's also available, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear from a group working to improve quality of life for LGBT youth. But first, an LA-based dancer followed her dreams of creating a non-profit dance company, and students from the Celia Cruz High School right here in the Bronx had the opportunity to participate in the program. Bronx correspondent Isamaris Rivera has more.
3 years ago, Ana Maria Alvarez, a student from UCLA Dance Department, had a dream. As a choreographer, she wanted to transform the world through dance. She created Contratiempo, a non-profit LA-based dance company.
I actually began the company. It happened out of my thesis work at UCLA. I was studying choreography at UCLA, getting my master's in choreography, and I started playing with this idea of salsa being a tool for empowerment of communities. An idea of using salsa and partner dancing to express things that have happened in our community that we don't necessarily always put on the concert stage, and created this piece called Contratiempo. The piece started then touring around the world and around the country, and we filed for 501c3, became a nonprofit, started working with a lot of schools in Los Angeles, and all of my family's in New York, so naturally I was like, New York needs to be the next place that we start our programming here.
Since then, Ana Maria's dream has come a long way. The company has a residency program for the youth, where our very own Celia Cruz dance students have been learning to express themselves through dance.
We went over to LA and we learned like 4 basic types, but there were still others that we did, but we focused on 4, which were modern, hip-hop, Afro-Cuban, and salsa.
To me, it was like the best experience I have ever done. It was just amazing.
Contratiempo created a new kind of dance theater, fusing together Latin rhythms with urban and contemporary dance.
So the fusion idea, we codified it. The company has coined a name for it. It's urban Latin fusion, and so it's any of the dance forms that the company individually, the members have codified for themselves technically. So, my background is jazz, ballet, tap, hip-hop, Afro-Cuban, and salsa, and so for me, I can combine any of those things into one sort of technique and teach to the kids.
Celia Cruz High School students really enjoy this program, and they hope to continue to be a part of the company for years to come. Ana Maria Alvarez tells us how you can also become a part of Contratiempo.
Our website is www.contratiempo.org. The name of the company, contratiempo.org, and you can find information about how to contact us and all of our programs. And we perform all over the country and world as well. So.
Congratulations to all of you involved in Contratiempo. Looks like all of your hard work and dedication has really paid off. This is Isamaris Rivera reporting for BronxNet.
Be free. Nice, Dad. Nice, Dad. Nice.
Charles!
Nice, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. From social pressures to establishing an identity to academic challenges, students around the world struggle to thrive in school. An alarming statistics show that lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, or LGBT, students are at high risk than their peers of not succeeding. PFLAG New York City offers a Safe Schools program working to change these statistics and create a more positive environment for LGBT students. We welcome Kalima Mackenzie Sims to Open. Hello, Kalima.
Hi, how are you?
Can you tell me what made you start with PFLAG and the Safe Schools program?
Well, about a year and a half ago, I went to a PFLAG support group meeting because I wanted to help parents, any parents that have questions that want to ask LGBT people about how to deal with their child coming out. So I started going to those, and then I brought my brother to one of those because he was having issues with me coming out, and so I got really affiliated with people, and I started knowing people, and I started going to other support group meetings throughout the NYC because they have them in every borough. And even though I didn't know anybody, I still tried to meet people and make friends and network. And one of the program directors for Safe Schools, I didn't even know that it was a program. He came to me and he said, we would love for you to be a speaker in the schools. So that's how I got started with it.
Can you tell us what the Safe Schools program means? What is that program?
It's a program where PFLAG goes into parents of LGBT people and some LGBT people like myself, go into the schools and talk to kids about respect and the importance of not bullying people that are different, because you never know what can happen in the long run. So we tell our stories to the kids and they ask us questions. Some schools have more questions than others, but we're happy to answer anything.
What kind of schools do you go to?
We go to public schools, mostly in Manhattan, some of them in the Bronx. We haven't gone to, and also Queens and Brooklyn. A few of them are in Queens and Brooklyn. Most of them are in Manhattan.
What are the age ranges of the kids that you talk to?
5th through 7th grade. We talk to those ages because we believe that it's important to get our message before they go to high school, because that's when most of the bullying actually starts at elementary school. So we feel that's important to go into the schools then and explain why it's important not to bully and respect and tolerance.
What's been the reaction to the program coming into these schools?
Well, the students, a lot of the students they have so many questions because this is like the time where they get to ask, and most of the time they're afraid to ask because they don't know who to ask. But now we're giving them an opportunity to tell us, like some of them have anecdotes about their families and people in their families that come out, and they just want to just say it because they haven't been able to talk about it with anybody. Some of the parents have been requested to take their child out of the classes before we go in, because some of the administration send notes home saying PFLAG is coming to the school and they're going to talk to your children about not bullying and tolerance. And some parents call the school and request to have their child taken out of the class before we go in. So, and then that's hard for us to hear when we go to the schools and they tell us that some parents have requested that, because we feel like we have to get our message to everyone, but we have to respect the parents' wishes.
Right. I asked Shirley to call you on the show because I read some of your anecdotes about what you've heard from students. Can you share one or two, something that's really touched you?
Yes. One girl asked me, one boy said to me recently, actually, he said, what if you feel like you might be gay and you don't have anybody to turn to? And that just broke my heart, because it seemed like he was asking from a personal point of view. So I had to tell him that there's always somebody. There's always a teacher, because everybody in the administration in that particular school was very accepting. So I told him that you could always turn to a teacher, your principal, guidance counselor. There's always somebody. And I had to make him understand that he's not alone, because a lot of LGBT students in the closet, or even like questioning students, feel like they're alone, and they're really not. And I have to make sure they know that. And one girl actually asked me if I found love after I told her my story about coming out. I didn't expect that question, but it was like she wanted a happy ending for me, so it was kind of nice to hear that. And she said that she looks up to us, and that is always nice to hear.
Have any of them ever asked how they can be involved in the program as well, or does it just end there?
Some of the teachers ask how can they become more involved in the program, like outside of just being a teacher in the school. But the kids, not yet. Maybe when they get older.
How would you have felt if this program was around when you were younger? Do you think it might have helped you?
Yes, I think it would have helped me a lot because in my elementary school, bullying was big. I was bullied, not for being LGBT because I wasn't out of the closet, but bullying was a big deal, and it would have been nice to have somebody come in and tell their story so people would actually understand what it's like to be an LGBT person or the parent of an LGBT person. So if they would understand that, it'd mean they would hopefully wouldn't bully when they got older or at that age.
What has been your thought process? How do you, when you go into these schools and you're planning to go into them, do you come in with the same story every day? What is your thought process before going in?
Well, prior to going into speaker school, every speaker is asked to attend a workshop, and they ask if we have a story that we would like to tell kids that promotes acceptance and, tolerance. And so we pick a story, and PFLAG helps us refine that story, emphasizing the more important points, not changing up our story because it's our life. But so I go in with my coming out, like a specific coming out story because it's a lot of them. So I go in with that story, how I came out to my best friend when I was a sophomore in high school. And I tell that story each time. I told it about 10 times. But every time it seems a little bit different because the kids are more attentive, and I think they relate to me more because I'm a little bit younger, because most of the speakers I go with are parents, so they want to hear about an actual LGBT person in their life.
That's good to know. That's like some parents probably are very tentative. They take their kids out because they don't want them to hear about homosexuality, and they're scared of that sort of the questions that the children must come home with after that. How does, like you spoke about that breaks your heart a little bit because you want that message to come out. What would you say to those parents if you could talk to them personally?
I would say that we're not here to confuse your child or trying to recruit your child or anything. We're just trying to explain to them that bullying is not okay. And there are going to be times where they live in New York. They're going to meet people that are LGBT, and how to handle if somebody comes out to them, and how to deal with that stuff, because they're going to need to know how to deal with it. There's no way around it. It's going to happen eventually. So we think it's important for them to learn that at a younger age. So I would tell the parents that it's important. I don't understand the peers in the class are going to talk about it during lunch and during recess. So I don't see the point in taking your child out of the class when they're just going to hear about it from your friends later. Right. So that's what I would tell the parents. I totally agree with you on that. What I have here that says the school's program addresses students, teachers, and helps faculty and staff to understand the approach. You interface with the faculty and staff as well, or is it just the students? Well, some faculty come into the classrooms. Like if they have a break or they don't have a class, they come in. And some of the teachers have questions too. Like they ask me questions about my story, and they ask the parents questions. So I like it when the teachers ask questions because the students see it's okay to ask questions, and if they see somebody older than them inquiring, then they feel okay. They're like, okay, I can ask too. Yeah. How often do you do this program? As much as possible, actually. They send me invitations maybe twice a month to see who's available to speak, and if I don't have class or if I'm on break like I am now, I go to wherever it is, and I go and I speak. That's great. Thank you so much. For more information, you can go to pflagnyc.org/safeschools. It's been a pleasure coming into your homes. We'd like to thank you and our guests for joining us, and especially you, our viewers, for tuning in. You can tune in tonight for the recablecast of Open at 10 p.m. on Channel 67, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. From all of us here at Open, have a great week, and don't forget to keep your heart and mind open.